Welcome back to the show, everyone. As always, I'm your host, Stewart Kraintz, and this is, I think, a really important episode for us to have today. It is going to be a solo run, so just yours truly. However, I do think the message is very timely. I mean, we're at the end of the year, the holidays are nearly upon us, and at the time this episode comes out, we are going to be, I believe, just under 50 days remaining in 2023, which is wild to say out loud. I mean, I do feel like I've blinked and the year has gone by just like that. And as we are looking ahead to the end of the year and to 2024, this is the time of year that we begin to reflect. We begin to take stock of what was, celebrate with friends, with family, and we also start looking ahead to the year that will be. We're often full of hope, full of optimism, full of the sense of this is the year that we're going to go ahead and do the thing. Like we're going to reach heights for ourselves that we have yet to reach before. We are going to have a year unlike any other. And that's why I want to talk to you today about goals. And I want to talk to you about goals because time is going to keep advancing whether or not you take action on your goals or not. And it's important to me, and I hope important to you, that you are putting in the work, showing up for yourself so that you can create the life of your dreams, so you can have the things, the experiences, the relationships, the impact that you want to have with your time here on this earth. And so, looking ahead, most people are going to start really thinking about New Year's resolutions, usually in that week following Christmas, but before New Year's Eve actually hits. And what I'm just going to say to y'all, if you wait until then, you're already behind. I think one of the logical fallacies of New Year's resolutions and why they often don't work is that we assume that just by flipping a switch, so to speak, just because we say so, we're going to be a brand new person. And then what happens is reality sets in, life keeps happening, circumstances keep happening. We actually haven't become a different person overnight. We still have the same circumstances and things that get in the way of our goals and dreams, but we haven't built up that credibility with ourselves to help push us through and to get us over those hurdles in real time as those hurdles present themselves. And so this is why I encourage people now to start thinking ahead now to the year ahead and what you want to create. And more importantly, where possible, how can you start taking action now on the goals, on the dreams that you have? And so, kind of have a little bit of a formula for you guys today, but this is something that I've spoken about on episodes before. We become the person who is going to achieve the big thing by doing things that we have never yet done before. And so, what does that require? That requires us to get outside of our comfort zones, to keep taking strong, committed action over and over and over again, especially when it's uncomfortable, y'all. Because you cannot have something you haven't had before or do something you haven't done before without trying something new. And sometimes it's going to require you to do things like overcome your fear of rejection or show up for yourself consistently in a way that you haven't, or having the dedication and commitment and discipline to do things over and over again when they're not convenient and when you don't feel like it and when everything is telling you not to do it and to take the day off. But you showing up for yourself is how you start to rewrite the narrative for yourself for how you view yourself, how the world views you, and is usually the best indicator on if you're actually going to reach those goals. And so it's not just enough to go for a goal whole hog, y'all. It's important that we not only go for the thing as hard as we possibly can, but that we're acknowledging ourselves along the way for each and every action we take. So I've said it before, we build self-confidence by keeping our promises to ourselves, but only if we acknowledge ourselves for what we have accomplished. And when I say accomplished, y'all, it could be as small as I went to the gym today for the fourth day in a row, even though all of my muscles hurt and I really didn't want to get out of bed. I wanted to hit snooze. Those are the times that we take for granted because society doesn't often celebrate those small moments, quite frankly. But it's those small itty bitty moments, those itty bitty decisions, such as not hitting snooze, getting out of bed, and going to the gym, that actually make the difference in creating that compound interest for yourself and helping get you where you want to go. Because as we accomplish those little things, as we keep those little promises to ourselves, we build our integrity with ourselves. We become our word. We start to build credibility with ourselves. And when we build that credibility with ourselves, y'all, we actually start to change how we view ourselves. And thereby, we end up believing that we can take on bigger and bigger things, bigger challenges, bigger tasks, and we start to dream bigger. It's a really powerful thing. And so I wanted to share this with you. My wife and I have been talking about what we've been calling our finally goals recently. Our finally goals are those goals that we finally have achieved after years and years of wanting them, of maybe trying really hard for a couple of months and then letting it fizzle out, creating some story for ourselves as to why we can't have the thing. The finally goals are the ones that you are going to plant your flag on, like, no shit, I'm going to do this thing this year. And I feel very fortunate that I actually have accomplished two of those goals this year. So I thought it'd be beneficial to share with you all what those were so that hopefully you are inspired to do the same for yourself heading into 2024. So the first of which, y'all, I ran my first half marathon. Here in Columbus, Ohio, I ran the Cap City Half. I crushed that goal of mine, which was really just to run the race, complete it, never ever stop to walk at any point during the race. And what was important is I found a plan, I found a running plan, I committed to the plan, and I stuck through it and I stuck to it through its entirety, which is something that a former version of me never would have done before. So if it said I was going to run 4 days this week at progressively longer distances, I was going to do it no matter what. If I had to adjust my hydration in order to make it work, I had to adjust my protein intake in order to put that mileage on my body. If I had to spend some time stretching on the floor while my stepson and my wife were watching TV, I would do it. Whatever it took, I stuck to it. And by showing up each and every day, over and over and over again, doing whatever the training program said I was supposed to do and not negotiating with myself, not letting myself off the hook, by not holding myself low, quite frankly, and letting myself believe I couldn't do it, I had those wins for myself each and every day. And my confidence in myself, my belief that I was going to do the thing grew exponentially over time. And then probably the 10th week of the training program, when I was putting in 8, 9 miles on a Saturday or a Sunday, I was fully believing that I was going to cross the finish line victorious with my head up high. I was able to start actually visualizing it for myself, how it was going to look, how it was going to feel. And man, I cannot tell you how absolutely amazing it felt to cross the finish line, reach out for my medal that said I was a finisher, put it around my neck, and just let it soak in because I had worked my butt off in order to make that happen. Now, please believe y'all, there were moments I did not want to train at all. Like I trained in 20-degree weather some days. I trained in the rain. I trained when there was snow on the ground. I ran with my dog who would often pull me in really uncomfortable angles, and I'd have to stop and break my momentum. But it all became something that I just became used to and swept under the rug, so to speak, because I kept showing up for myself and I kept building that credibility with myself as someone who was going to see it all the way through. And so that finisher medal, I've run tons of races, but this is my first half marathon I've run. I cannot tell you how much that medal means to me. And it's not about the medal at all, actually. It's about the reminder that I did something that was very difficult, that a very small percentage of adults do. And I crushed it. Was I the fastest? No. Did I look the best? Lord, no. Some of the in race photos they took of me, I look pretty rough, not going to lie. But the sense of doing something that I had wanted to do for years and finally committing to it, like no shit, ended up being a very transformational experience for me, which leads me to another finally goal of mine that I accomplished this year, and that's starting this podcast. So, as I am recording this, we have launched 37 episodes every single Wednesday starting on March 1st, 2023. Every single Wednesday at 6 a.m., a new episode has hit Spotify and YouTube. And I had read in multiple places from people that have wildly successful podcasts that the cadence doesn't matter a ton, but you can never break it. And so I had to ask myself, who do I get to be and what do I need to do in order to make sure I always have an episode coming out Wednesday morning, 6 a.m., YouTube and Spotify. And I got to tell you guys, I actually didn't think I could do it when I started. But because I was simultaneously training for that race, just to give you the timeline here, this podcast launched on March 1st. I ran that race on April 29th. So there was some overlap here. I was building that credibility with myself that I could develop that discipline to produce an episode a week on average. And in sticking to it and sticking with it and like, no shit, I'm not going to miss an episode ever. This show is growing. It's starting to grow. I got new listeners every week. New parts of the country are listening to the show every week. We're now listened to in 8 countries, which is really awesome. Shout out to Malaysia and Thailand that seem to love this show. Thank you guys for listening. You know, this has grown way bigger than I thought it would, certainly beyond my wildest dreams. And because it has, I am now in a place where I'm dreaming bigger for just how big of an impact that I can have. But it's because I'm showing up each and every day, making the choice to spend the hours recording, spending the hours it takes sometimes to get people committed to a time to record, spending the time to edit the episodes because Lord knows we make mistakes or there's technical difficulties or my microphone's not working, whatever the thing may be. Continuing to show up has to be at least 80% of the battle, y'all. Not giving yourself a back door, not renegotiating with yourself. You are going to do it no matter what. And that is how the thing is going to get accomplished. And so none of this is to brag, y'all, but it is hopefully to inspire you and let you know that showing up to do the thing, making sure you're letting it land for yourself, that you are going outside of your comfort zone and twisting and turning and expanding yourself in ways that you have never been before, is how you become the person that becomes a homeowner, or is the person that gets out of debt, or is the person that can have a top ranked podcast out there in the world, who can have the relationship of their dreams, who can have the family of their dreams. And it all starts with you. And the reason I wanted to do this episode now, as opposed to in January, when I'm sure a lot of these types of episodes on similar podcasts are going to come out, is because, quite frankly, I just want you guys to ask yourselves, if you've listened to the episode this far, I'm sure you have a couple of goals in mind that you would really like 2024 to be the year that you bring those to fruition. What are you waiting for? What's preventing you from starting now? Someone I want to shout out real fast, his name's John Yarberry. He was actually on episode 6 of this show. He's the one that got me to stop giving myself a back door on starting this show. I was going to launch May 1st. On, I believe, February 22nd, he said, okay, that's cool. What's preventing you from starting tomorrow? And then in the conversation, we renegotiated, but I committed to March 1st. And because of that, this show is now growing internationally. It's growing across the USA. I'm getting feedback about how the episodes are touching people's lives and how people are taking action based on the things that are stated here by myself and the guests. None of that would have been possible to the degree that it has occurred so far if I had waited those extra 2 months. We're roughly 2 months away from the start of the year, y'all. What can you do now to set yourself up to win so that you have momentum going into 2024 and you're not starting at square zero? What if you started your health and fitness journey now? I know that that's a really big one for most of us. You know, this upcoming year is going to be the year I lose the weight, or I, achieve the fitness goal, whatever that may be for you. What if you beat the beginning of the year gym rush? What if you had five to 8 weeks under your belt of working out now, so that you already have the lay of the land? You're not intimidated when you go to the gym and you stick with it. How can you separate yourself from the pack? If you're in like a sales role at work, this is when it starts to get slow for a lot of people. How can you push yourself to hit your sales quotas for the end of the year so that you set yourself up to win big in Q1 and Q2 of 2024? If you have a creative project, please, please, please start now. How much different is your life going to be in 2 months for you to start writing that book, or picking up those painting classes, or learning how to sculpt, or learning how to produce music, if that's your thing. Starting now is going to get you to your goal quicker than waiting till it's convenient. And as I hope I already stated in the episode, choosing when it's convenient is you choosing your comfort zone, quite frankly. You're choosing that instead of it being a finally goal that you finally accomplish, it remains in the land of someday, which, as we know, is usually never. So none of this is to browbeat, but it is just to remind you that to create this massive transformation for yourself, it requires getting uncomfortable, continually choosing strong, committed action, the discipline to keep doing so, especially when it's inconvenient and when you don't feel like it. And the last piece, y'all, is not being afraid to ask for support. This admittedly is something that I have struggled with my whole life. I have this lifelong belief that I'm constantly working through, that I have to do things on my own. That if I can't do something on my own, I am somehow unworthy of love. I'm unworthy of affection. I can't celebrate myself unless it's something that I've done entirely by myself. And that's just not true. So much suffering, not only in my life, but in the world, I think could be avoided if we just reach out and ask for support. And if you're listening to this going through a particularly hard time, I am a huge fan of therapy. I have seen several therapists over my adulthood. At one point, I was seeing two therapists at the same time, and that really, really worked for me. If you feel like you're in a place with your mental health where your mental health may be compromised, please go get support in that way. They're absolutely, I don't think it's been easier than before to go do that. I mean, there are apps out there that can connect you with a qualified therapist. But if you are in a place to work on your goals like no shit, go find an accountability partner. Better yet, go find an accountability partner who you can hold accountable, because if you hold them accountable, they will do the same for you. You can also hire a coach like yours truly. I work with people all the time on their goals. I work with them on structuring their time, structuring how they are going about allocating their energy, their other resources that are necessary in order to pursue a big goal. And I also just champion the shit out of them. I will support you, love you, push you. If you need me to yell at you, I will, although that's not my favorite way to go about things. Find a coach who can coach you to get the best out of yourself each and every day. And if you don't feel called to work with me, connect with me anyway. I will make sure that my contact information is in the description below, because I know some damn good coaches out there who can help get you set up to win. But like I'm saying, y'all, don't wait. Don't wait for 2024 to start on 2024. Start now so that you can win big in 2024. Early bird gets the worm, so they say. If you want to have an uncommon life, you have to take uncommon actions. And you owe it to yourself. Nobody's going to fight for your dreams like you can. So if you're listening to this, if you've made it this far, I strongly encourage you to choose yourself, take strong, committed action, Anybody listening to this, I'm going to put my calendar link below. Even if you catch this months or years from now, you can book a call with me for us to talk about your goals, what you're stuck on, and how I or somebody else can possibly support you in creating the life of your dreams. Because you matter, so do your dreams, and so does the impact that you want to have on this earth. So definitely reach out, 100% free. Be your time to work on your goals. So I hope you got some value out of the show today, y'all. I definitely just got in a groove and was going for it. Please let me know what your biggest takeaways were from this show. And also, if you got any value, this show is totally free. So please share it out with somebody you know, because if you have goals yourself, I guarantee you are hanging out with people that have goals that maybe just need a little extra support, a little kick in the butt to get them going. 2024 is going to be here in the blink of an eye, y'all. Let's work together to make sure that it is the best possible year of your life. Sending y'all a lot of love. We'll see you next week.